Hello and welcome back to Anime High School Window Seat, your alleducational anime podcast. I'm your host, Morph. My pronouns are they and them, and I'm the one who's currently speaking right now. Joining me this week, as always, are...
Hey, I'm Bash. My pronouns are he, they. I'm your local boys love enthusiast and Attack on Titan hater.
And I am Podunk Diogenes, and I'm your resident sad girl enthusiast and K-On hater.
And as we continue to do this show, I'm sure we will iron out these deficiencies in our ability to introduce ourselves, because I despise Death Note, and you will learn to hate me for doing such. Anyways, what have you guys watched this week?
I recently started catching up on the newest season of Overlord, which I've been putting off, so it's already a couple episodes deep, but I finally got to sit down and watch some of that. I'm enjoying it just like I have been the last 3 seasons. I also got further through my rewatch of Blood Plus with a friend of mine, which is one of my favorite old animes from back in the Toonami days. And I haven't seen it in a while, and I think it still holds up pretty well.
I have been watching My Stepmom's Daughter's My Ex. I'm game for these like niche little rom-coms. I've also been watching Parallel World Pharmacy, as well as a herbivorous dragon of 5,000 years gets unfairly villainized, which is a nice little Chinese animation.
Hang on, you're gonna have to describe that last one. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, what is that title? What the fuck?
Essentially, the first episode breakdown is that you have a dragon who is minded his own business, just eating nothing but vegetables in a cave. And a girl comes into his cavern to sacrifice herself so that he will protect the town from a demon general. And it's just him trying to pretend to act tough and fit into the image that other people have of him that is clearly not him. And surprise, the kid has actual, like, magic powers, and he has just got her as a disciple now because he quote-unquote ate her soul because he didn't want to actually eat her. It's a fun little, like, 14-minute episode per episode series.
This sounds like the Dragon Goes house hunting bullshit show that you made me watch.
Hey, that's a good
Actually,
show.
It does actually sound like that.
There's a lot of, like, fake it till you make it shows where the person faking it is just a mess of anxiety.
Did you show me any anime this week?
Nah, you've been pretty busy this week.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched any anime this week at all, actually.
Wow, you are failing anime homework.
I'm failing my anime homework. Last week we watched The World's Greatest Assassinated Reincarnated in Another World. So I mean, I guess I can count that because we didn't record an episode last week.
I do find it funny you started with "Welcome back" when this is our premiere first episode.
We don't have to give people peeks behind the curtain like that.
I mean, it'll be the first one uploaded, so therefore it's the premiere first episode.
They don't need to know that. They don't need to know what we don't do and don't have.
I'm just saying, from their perspective, it's the first premiere episode. That fact is immutable.
Oh, God.
Yeah. God, what have I watched this week? I know that I've watched anime. Oh no, I watched Gantz. The first episode of Gantz I ended up watching this week for the first time. It is not good. I would put forward that it's not good, actually.
The only thing I know about Gantz is that there is a mysterious box in the middle that makes them wear super suits, something like that, right?
It's an orb. So you're already wrong. But from what I can tell, it seems to be some sort of omniscient, omnipotent supercomputer. That's how, again, only first episode. And there's a rape in the first episode, or at least an attempted rape. And it's like excessively graphic. Because everything in this episode is excessively graphic. Like, 2 people get hit by trains. And like we watch their severed heads like fly through the through the air and like bleed all over the floor while listening to their thoughts as they die. So like all in all, only slightly less graphic than the pilot episode of UQ Holder.
So it's just one of those things. Shows it's just trying to establish itself as darkly as possible. Like dark, it's dark, and we're just telling you this quickly. We're not teasing up to it.
Yeah, so it starts off with the
Yeah.
main character fantasizing about all of the women in his class, and in order to make sure that the audience knows that the main character is fantasizing about all the women in his class, it shows us all the women in his class completely butt-ass naked, nipples and all. And then he buys a nudie mag, and then he dies. But it turns out he doesn't die, but he actually did die, because everyone in this show who is like part of the main cast died, and gets like brought by this machine to get a quote unquote second chance at life in this death game. I think it's a death game is what it is.
I think I've only seen the movie, the live action movie. Don't they like have to go prevent other supernatural shit from happening at the behest of
I have
this
no
orb?
idea. That does not happen in the first episode. All that happens in the first episode is the main character's childhood best friend, who he now hates for reasons untold to us, tries to save a bum from dying by getting hit by a train, and in the process gets both him and the main character hit by a train. And then when they end up in this apartment, there is a Yakuza guy there, and when this young woman shows up who very clearly just tried to commit suicide in a bathtub and allegedly succeeded, because I think everyone died, even though they are not currently dead, they all definitely died, but then were brought here by this godlike being. And so she killed herself in a bathtub, is completely butt naked, and then this Yakuza man just like picks her up, takes her into the other room, and is going to rape her. And then the main character's childhood best friend, who he doesn't like anymore, who tried to save the bum and got them both killed, goes into the other room and strangles the Yakuza man almost completely to death to stop him from raping her. And it's very clearly established that that he's not doing this out of like any type of altruism or because he like is a good person. It's established that he's doing this because he's trying to be a hero. And so everyone here is terrible for different reasons, and I don't like it, and it's bad.
It's villainizing doing something because it'll get you recognized as being
it
a good
villainizes
person.
both doing nothing and doing something. So like the show's stance is like, it doesn't tell you what it offers no solution to the situation. It's just, if you do something, you're a piece of shit fuck ass bastard because you want the recognition for having done something, and if you do nothing, you're a piece of shit fuck ass bastard for allowing the things in front of you to happen. So like it offers no actual meaningful solution. It's just, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, the show. And it's bad, it's graphic it's just edgy and taboo for being the sake of being edgy and taboo. And I don't recommend anyone watch it, and that's not even the main segment of this episode. So like I don't know why we've gone on this long tangent.
I wonder if it ends
This
up
long 10-minute tangent
Hold on, I have
about
a
the
thing
main
to
episode
say.
of Gaunt's.
How dare you? I wonder if it's pulling a like Goblin Slayer. I say as if Goblin Slayer came out first, but Goblin Slayer also did the needlessly edgy first episode, and then like really toned it back in the second going forward episodes.
Maybe.
I literally have no clue. I've only seen the first episode, and I have no interest in watching any more.
I'll give it that the manga art's really fucking dope, but like, I don't know.
So it's
Everything else I
Berserk.
looked at, it's
A lot of dark
Seems
stuff tends
alright.
to be drawn really cool.
it is true. There's a lot of heavy detail and a lot of like dark, fucked up shit typically.
Well, I mean, Elfen Lied famously has
Yeah.
amazing art.
Oh god, it's so gorgeous.
What's the anime about the kids who are forced to like pilot mechas to fight ants on the moon or whatever?
Oh.
I don't know if it's on the
they're not.
moon.
They're like cockroach superhumans or something.
terraformers.
I think Terraformers is right.
I mean,
yeah.
I thought you were about to describe 86, the one where people are forced to pilot robot mechas to kill actual robot mechas.
I actually don't know if they.
They're not
they
actual
pilot
robot
mechas and-
mechas.
Well, I know, but,
Terraformers, though.
as far as the first episode's concerned.
the main software, I don't know, that would be a spoiler for 86. 86 is really good. If you haven't seen 86, you should absolutely watch 86. It's fucking phenomenal. The first season is phenomenal. Again, where I watched it, it was all listed as one season. But the first half, where it ends with the surviving 86 is going off away from the main city into that good night, and just turning off their comms. That's amazing. The second season sucks. It's not terrible. Like, it's nowhere near as bad as, like, it's just, it sucks because it's mediocre in comparison to what is, like, a timeless classic. Like, the first season is up there. If it was just those 12 episodes, it would probably be, like, the best a contender for best anime of all time. Unfortunately, it has 12 more episodes that are just kind of mediocre. And it just sort of becomes a basic, typical anime from there, where it's just like, oh, it's a princess who's doing princess things, and we've got to save and protect the princess. And I don't know. The 86 is really good, and then it's not really good. But if you just watch the first 12 episodes, it's fantastic. And I would recommend that you at least watch those. But again, not entirely related to our topic for today. But before we get into that, we have to talk about news, and there's a lot of it. So there's been quite a few developments in as far as anime news for this week. The first of which being that long awaited and long detrived One Punch Man is finally getting a third season, as confirmed. Literally today is the day of recording this episode. So who here has seen who here has even seen season 2?
I have. But
okay, so I'm the only outlier. All right.
I mean, shit, it's been a while because I watched it right when it came out, so it's literally been 4 years since I've seen it.
I waited.
Uh-huh.
And like, you know, so it was all out by the time I watched it. How was your experience watching it weekly?
Did I watch it weekly? That's a great
assumed
question.
that was the case.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assumption. I don't remember if I did or didn't. I'm going to be entirely honest. I might have for a little bit. I might have watched it weekly for a little bit, which I do enjoy. It gives me something to look forward to, you know, at the end of the week or whenever it pops out. I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed the first one. I liked the style of the anime quite a lot.
I think for me, the biggest thing to get over, it was like the change in color gradient. Because like certain colors were very bright and pop, which normally I would like, but it seems to like they also put over like a weird filter over every scene. If anything was metal, it looked kind of weird.
Uh-huh.
And like other people will point out, you know, the animation quality difference between season 1 and season 2, but like I don't know. I'm a connoisseur of good old C tier anime, so I can excuse some like bad like animation and just kind of like, you know, animation shortcuts. It was just one of those where this show was like the big hurdle was just the change in art style. That was like the biggest thing to get used to.
Yeah, I honestly straight up like didn't know, because like sometimes I don't look into like stuff super hard, but I didn't know that they had gone with a second studio. So like I was like, my brain didn't like put the two together, but like it did after the fact, and I was like, oh, all right.
I think the reason they did that was that Studio Madhouse was already had their schedule full already with other shows, and instead of waiting for them to do season 2, they decided to ride the popularity wave and just get a studio that was available, which in this case was JC Staff.
Yeah, which I don't think they did a bad job at all. I think it still came out more than good enough.
Yeah, it's rough because I feel like One Punch Man, like other adaptations or like manga, is that like it has a very pretty manga, well drawn, well choreographed manga, and God forbid if you cannot put like the minute attention into that was put into the manga into the anime, which is kind of a catch-22 because in order to get the anime out on a reasonable time frame, you can't do the level of detail that a manga has. But if you try to stick too close to the manga, but then it just looks bad in animation.
Yeah, there's definitely like a lot of reasons to not do what they do in the manga in like an anime series. And like sometimes it works, sometimes it looks cool, or like you have like shows like Fooly Cooly that have like little like short snippets where they go like full manga style, and that's kind of fun and interesting, but they like do the whole panel like move around and that sort of stuff. They don't try to interpret like the same kind of like lines because that doesn't always work in an animated style.
It's interesting that both of one's anime, both of one's mangas are being confirmed for season 3 adaptations so close together after similar gaps in adaptations. Because, like, you know, Mob Psycho also is getting a season 3, and that was only confirmed a couple months ago now, and now you have One Punch Man, which, while One Punch Man came first, its second season was received much poorly.
Yeah.
Compared to Mob Psycho Season 2, which was received with all the fanfare accompanying that show, which is widely considered by, I think, the majority of the community to be one of the best. Certainly a top contender for shonen battle anime.
Yeah, absolutely. What I've seen of it, at least.
At least as far as seasonal anime is concerned, I would assume, because, like, you know, you have the recurring anime, which are always in the top, but, like, no one actually cares about the recurring shonens. Like, Black Clover and One Piece will always be in the top of the shonen battle anime, but no one outside of their dedicated fan base actually gives a flying fuck about those shows.
Yeah.
Much to the chagrin of anyone who is a fan of those shows, who is insistent and adamant that they are the most important things since, like, God, but, like, no one actually cares about them.
There's a lot of shows with like that really niche dedicated following. Like I would say like No Game No Life is one of them.
The following difference between No Game No Life and One Piece is very different, because, like, One Piece...
I had zoned out and was hoping you weren't talking about One Piece. I was like, I can totally sneak back into this conversation, no problem.
No, I mean, One Piece is definitely, I would not say a niche fandom, but, like, it definitely has a dedicated fandom. I would say at this point, just based on the way that people follow One Piece, it's functionally a soap opera. Like, Days of Our Lives ran for 27 years or however the fuck long it ran, and people tuned in every week. But like, nothing tracks from season to season. It doesn't, because there are no seasons in One Piece, but, like, it doesn't, you know, people will insist that it's this masterpiece of plot construction, but so much stuff gets dropped, and so nothing actually ends up getting followed through on, because it can't be.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of producing something that's that long.
Yeah,
it is an anime soap opera.
Go that long and you're going to lose stuff. You're going to forget shit. Things aren't going to get got back to, and that's just what's going to happen. I've seen plenty of long series that are nowhere near the length of One Piece, and that happens regularly in those as well.
It's something. Because it certainly has probably the largest following in anime. It would be hard to tell. Just by pure metrics, it has the most dedicated following in anime, because they consistently buy the manga chapters, if for nothing else than to keep it at the top of Shonen Jump's charts. And you have to wonder how much of that is actual fans buying it, and how much is, like, corporate manipulation of numbers, and because, like, you know, that happens in every market. It's not, I'm not accusing manga of being uniquely corrupt. It happens in best-selling novels.
Yeah.
It happens in I mean, Netflix notoriously doesn't release any type of metric data on their on the shows, and just sort of claims that things have viewership.
For me, the interesting aspect of One Piece is the fact that One Piece could be somebody's, like, one show. Like normally when things end, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go pick up something else. But with One Piece, since it's perpetual, you're not really, like, incentivized to go seek out other media, like you would for a show that, like, stops airing for a season or whatnot. I mean, I'm sure One Piece has had breaks, but, like, I don't think that story is ever going to end, even if the original creator dies. Now, I'm sure someone could tell me that that Shonen Jump's totally going to let it end whenever the author says it's going to end, but I feel like the author is plenty incentivized to keep the story going as long as it can.
Mm-hmm.
Has it actually taken any breaks?
I think the anime has a couple times.
I think the manga has as well. I think,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken, I
figured it would have, but I just can't remember any.
I don't know when or how many, but there's people get sick.
Yeah.
And it's been going for 25 years at this point.
God
So
almighty.
there's no way that Oda hasn't taken at least a week off from publishing.
I hope.
But yeah, no, I don't know. This isn't about One Piece. This was the news. The news that we were here to talk about was the fact that One Punch Man is getting a season 3, and it has not yet been announced what studio is going to be adapting it yet. Based on the reception of the second season, it is possible that they might decide to switch directions and go with a different studio to adapt it, because of how poorly the second season was received just based on animation quality. But rights holding and rights purchasing might mean that the same studio gets to produce it anyways. It might go back to Studio Madhouse. That doesn't seem very likely. People are speculating it might be produced by Studio Bones, which is the studio that produces Mob Psycho, but I doubt that very much. Bones has a pretty full slate. I don't think... I mean, to put it into perspective, Bones was the studio that animated the first season of, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, I'm not going to look it up. But we're just gonna fly by the seat of our pants and die like people adjacent to men. Bones was the studio that, if I'm not mistaken, animated the first season of Attack on Titan, and they did not pick up the later seasons, despite it being now one of the most successful anime of the past decade at the very least. So they have too much on their slate. So the idea that they would pick up One Punch Man for season 3 despite not having the previous 2 seasons when they already have Mob Psycho seems very skeptical to me. I don't see that happening.
We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure we'll learn here not too long from now, depending on when they're trying to get it out.
According to my anime list, it was Wit Studio.
Ah, damn. Well, there you go.
I will say, I almost wonder if there is, there's got to be a tug of war to play, where it's on one hand, having a consistent show that your studio is contracted to produce over and over again, that's got to be real good for your sense of job security. But on the other hand, as a creative, I wonder how tired you get of just drawing the same characters over and over again.
No idea. I haven't been able to work in that type of industry as of yet. So I don't know. So we should probably get on to our main topic. We've talked about the news for way too long. So our main topic this week has been forced upon every single one of us, and will now be forced upon you, our unfortunate and most unlucky listener. The name of this anime lives forever in infamy. It is One Room, a bold experiment in anime filmmaking. The idea of what if we made a visual novel in an anime format, a voiceless, unvoiced first-person protagonist, an anime produced entirely in first person, like that. What was the name of the movie? Dirty Harry.
I don't know if those Dirty Harry guys. I thought Dirty Harry was the one with Daniel Radcliffe, where they stuck gun to his hands.
What the fuck was that movie?
Oh no, the Dirty
Hardcore
Harry's a Clint
Henry.
Eastwood movie.
Hardcore Henry. That's the movie.
Okay.
I wasn't too far off.
Weren't too far off.
The adjective has 2 syllables, and the name starts with the letter H. So you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a character. The entire anime is told in the first person perspective, and so you have in the first person perspective of a character who does not speak, does not breathe, does not act or emote, and so you have the entirety of the anime has to be carried by the emotions, emotional responses, and acting capability of both the character model, animators, and the voice actresses that are interacting with this hunk of wood that is the viewer's point of view. And I would argue that this bold experiment in anime is a loud and deafening failure.
I would argue. Now, granted, this is just because I was maybe looking for like any sort of oasis in this weird desert I had found myself in when I watched it. The third girl from season 1 is like, I feel like the most appropriate for like this viewpoint. Now, granted, it's because of the three.
We'll get to that. We're not even at the point of splitting the hairs between which girl is the best girl. We're not there yet. We're just talking about the meta concept itself right now. All right, Poe. Like we're not at the point where we're dissecting which girl is best girl and whether or not it's okay to fuck your sister.
I mean,
like that's not where we're
to
at.
Explain my experience of watching the darn thing. I mean, I don't know what much you can say about this premise already.
The thing I can say about the premise is that you have these poor actresses doing the best they can with this awful dialogue in this fucking lame scenario, and these animators doing the absolute damn best they can to create what can only be described as first-person softcore porn. Like, that's what it is. It's not anything more than that.
For more context for you viewers, the way the dialogue is written is that the actresses that are reading their lines are also pausing to supposedly let the viewer react to what is being said and happened in front of them, and then responding in kind to what a viewer might theoretically say. Which is weird when, like, the episode takes a weird dive and it's just like, what do you mean you're kicking me out? It's like, wait, who would be saying this right now?
Or they are not small. We weren't talking about your tits, honey. I promise you. No one was thinking about your prepubescent boobs. No one here had that thought cross their mind.
Put a pin in that one, viewers. We'll get to her.
So, go ahead.
I was just like, watching this, I'm just like, the entire time I'm like, I could just be playing an actual visual novel right now and
They're
be
so
getting a
fun.
much
Visual
better
novels are fun.
experience.
Well, the unique thing about a visual novel that this anime seems to fundamentally lack the understanding of is that visual novels actually allow you control over the inputs that you get to say to the characters.
Yeah.
It's not entirely predetermined like some sort of Calvinist hellscape. Like
Exactly.
You know, the weird thing is that the one, and granted, unfortunately I've only have, like, the one visual novel under my belt, but mostly what you say to each individual girl doesn't change. The only point your dialogue affects is, like, which girl you end up doing a scene with. Like, you'll be given a lot of opportunities to be like, it is currently break time. Where do you take your break? And it's just like, each location would put you in a scene with a different one of the, the love interests.
Yeah, you have not played enough visual novels.
No.
Yeah, most visual novels definitely have segments where it's just like the characters turn to you and go, "What do you think?" And then you're given like 3 options to respond from. Like that's the majority of.
That is what Data Live works on.
So like this show, it is a bold and fascinating experiment and it ends the way most bold and fascinating experiments do, with utter carnage and the need for governments to step in and write regulations. And so
you've only seen one season of this. I don't want to hear that from you.
I've seen one season and the swimsuit special, all of which against my will, and most of which more than one time. So
you were one hang up away from not being there.
Oh, God.
So this show begins with the main character whose age is deliberately ambiguous and not informed to the viewer, but he is a college graduate salaryman working for a black company. That's all we know. And we don't learn all of that at once. We learn that over the course of 2 stories. For those American listeners that I almost said viewers. For those of you American listeners who might not be that in tune with Japanese culture, though if you are listening to an anime-centric podcast and aren't aware, I would question your life choices. A black company is a specific designation for a corporate office in Japan that works their employees very, very, very poorly, with long overtime expected, and they just, honestly, my understanding of it probably is not nuanced enough to fully go into the exact details, but essentially, it's entirely legal. This isn't some sort of like below ground thing, but the way that they work their employees and the work culture surrounding how the employees work encourages and enforces a lot of overtime through both social pressure and the threat of termination. And so employees end up working overtime so much that they often end up both physically ill and exhausted, to the point where people have and continue to work themselves to the point of death.
It's the type of it's the type of place where you're probably going to be like either like working in the office all night, sleeping on your desk, and then waking up to work again, or like one of those things where you're kind of just going to be socially pressured to stay, no matter like how much of your work is actually done, up until the point where the boss leaves. And the boss can kind of like manipulate that to get people to stay pretty late.
That is our understanding of it, and that is definitely how it's portrayed in this anime. So, anyways, the show opens with this employee having a next-door neighbor move in, and this next-door neighbor is a 17-year-old girl who is about to graduate from high school and wants to go to university. This girl is a stalker. Just straight up, she has doxed the main character, knows where he lives, where he went to school, the fact that he is an alumni of this institution, and believes that if he just confronts him, if she confronts him with all this information, that she will be able to overload him and force him to help her with the entrance exams for this university.
Now, granted, viewers, again, as I will state probably many times, this is not how the show frames the scenario. The show frames the scenario as a girl who's moved in with her sister and has come to give you, her new neighbor, a "Hi, I'm living next to you" present, which I think is just a Japanese culture thing where, like, you visit somebody and then you, who's new, give your neighbors the stuff.
Sort of the opposite of a housewarming gift, yeah.
Everyone comes to you to give you stuff. At least stateside. That's generally the idea when someone moves into a neighborhood. It's like, oh, let's go give the new neighbor something. But in Japan, from what I can understand, it's, "Hi, I'm intruding on the space that you are senior in. Here present."
That might be a little bit of a
exaggeration, but yeah,
exaggeration, perhaps a little bit of a orientalization of their culture, but like for the most part, that seems to be like technically accurate to the actions that are taken. Yes.
Yeah.
So this girl and like the actions that I described are the text. Like, it's not how it's presented in the text, but it is the literal text. She knows where the protagonist, the voiceless point of view protagonist, because it's all filmed in first person or animated in first person, where he went to school, where he lives, and the fact that he, like, presenting him with all of this will, like, overwhelm him and force him to help her with her entrance exams. Which he does, or more accurately, we do, because we are essentially the character. And so insert 4 episodes, all of which are 4 minutes long, so a total of 12 minutes of this girl cooking for us, cleaning for us, eating rice off of our face, and also sometimes doing homework before proposing to us in the middle of a park because we helped her get into college. At best, we are 5 years older than this girl, who is a minor.
And also have known her for like 6 months.
For about 6 months.
Yep.
At best, that's the case. It is heavily implied in later installments through other characters that the main character is actually closer to 30. So we could be anywhere from 10 to 11 years older than this girl. According to the dialogue response that the girl gives, we accept her marriage proposal.
However, actually, no, I think you're getting your wires crossed. At least it's elaborate in season 2, is that by the end of season 1, we are just dating this poor girl.
I'm not getting my wires crossed. They might have retconned it in season 2, but she proposes that we stay with her forever, which is interpreted as let's get married.
No, we'll have to get to season 2 where that whole theme is the main character proposing to girls. But we'll get there.
Lord have mercy. I'm so glad that I didn't watch season 2. Anyways, so Poe showed this to both Bash and I, and against our will, and
You
under
see,
much...
y'all could have left it at any time. You were just in a call and I put it on and you didn't leave.
Just like how people who are suffering increased rent are free to move out at any point, huh?
I'm pretty sure it doesn't cost anything to hit that hang up button.
Yeah,
Right.
like not any sort of like social like.
What? Nah, there's no way I'd be abusing social pressure to get people
Yeah.
to watch the same cursed show that I watched.
No, you would never do such a thing.
I would never.
Ever.
For the record, this is Poe's most watched anime. Like, as far as
Unfortunately,
God,
by technicality, true.
Unfortunately, he says, as if it's not a choice
Because
that he
I've
actively
shown it
made
to at least.
to show to 7 people.
Has it been 7 people? No, hold on. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, which was my first initial solo viewing.
I think you've shown it to at least one more that you're forgetting.
I don't believe so.
All right, 6. I'm going to say 6 because I think he's forgetting one.
Wow.
And that's not including the swimsuit episode, which is just a redo of the first episode just with swimsuits on. So 7.
Although, to further clarify, it's clips from each girl's introductions in their like first episode slammed together. Or is it the full episode for each girl? God, I've blocked so much of this.
I mean, it would not be difficult for them to do the entire first episode.
Like,
Again,
yeah,
these
like 2 to
episodes
3
are
minutes.
only 4 minutes long. So, like, combining all 3 girls would only produce a 12-minute episode.
Honestly, this isn't the weirdest 4-minute episode series I've watched.
We can discuss that at a later time. Anyways, so this is what Bash and myself have been subjected to at the hands of this madman.
So the way the seasons are structured is that you have about 3, maybe 4 if it's a later season, girls per season. So 4 episodes per girl, and you're just going through like one plot line with each of them. In the first season, you're helping tutor a girl to get into college. You're letting your little sister stay with you. And the third one is you're helping a childhood best friend who's trying to move on with their music career. And
in all 3 of them, these girls end up at some point cleaning your house for you.
Incorrect. The third one does not. Best girl.
I swear she does, but I'll take your word for it. You've seen it. You've seen it more than you've seen any other anime, so you would know.
Because since it is named The One Room, most of the shots are located within one singular location. In arc 1 and 2, or I guess girl 1 and 2, it is your apartment. For girl 3, it's her apartment. So she doesn't even have a chance to see your place up until, I think, the ending credit roll of the 4th episode where it's like, we live together now. If
you've ever seen the anime memed GIF, it has been... Yeah, that one. It's relatively popular. It was more popular a couple years ago, back when this, I believe, anime came out in 2017. Of a young girl going, do you want blank, or do you want me? That's from this show. That's where that comes from.
And that is the middle schooler. Because
that is the middle school little sister who, at one point, gets on top of her brother and just starts giving him a frontal massage. Like,
no, I believe... I think it's a reverse massage. I think you're on your back.
I think You've seen it more.
You
You've
know,
seen it more than I
could-
have, so...
You know, I could be my brain might be compensating to not have the more horrifying scenario occur, but it could be frontal just the way that the camera was.
Who knows what that
Regardless,
show,
the camera is directly pointed up at this child whose clothes are coming off. Like, she's not stripping, but her clothes are falling off.
We get pajama clothes.
We get a more prominent up shirt shot of this middle schooler than we get of any other character in the show, including the girl with massive tits. We also get actual sexualized nudity of the middle schooler that we don't get of any other character, because while we see the high schooler taking a bath, and we don't see the adult taking a bath.
We don't see the high schooler taking a bath.
I think you're wrong.
I believe that's the third one.
I don't remember.
No, I think you've got it mixed up. I believe we see the high schooler taking a bath, but they only show her from like the top of her chest up. And then we see the middle schooler taking a bath, and they just show her whole ass.
Well, she was taking a shower. That's how we see the whole ass.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Right,
Big distinction.
Okay, hold on. I'm pan. You know,
Prime
since these are
justification.
very short episodes, I can pan them real quick. And I'm doing this because me being right is more important than... Oh, there was a bathhouse. It's episode 2, wasn't it? Yep, god damn it. Of course it's the high schooler.
It's like the older these characters get, the less of their body this show shows us. And it's
wild.
And I'm not to be clear, I did not introduce myself at the beginning of this episode as this, but like, I am this show's resident Shota enthusiast. So like, I want to be clear, like, it's not like the fact that this show is showing us underage, like, nudity in anime format of fictional characters. That's the issue here. It's just like the way that it chooses to do so and the complete lack of equality across the board. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's discretion. How it decides which characters it's going to use its discretion to show us nude is just very...
It's wild because it's like, it's interesting because you can have some meaningful storyline type implications with like the older characters and whatnot, but we just don't really go there. Like it's just wild. It's just that the times it chooses to be titillating, it chooses it for the girls that like I guess would in theory have a more more intense following, air quotes. Not sure what adjective to use there. It's odd.
It's very odd.
No, Bash was very talkative during the news segment, but you haven't really gotten a chance to speak up about One Room all that much. So what were your takeaways?
I was probably the thing that just confuses me the most is I don't understand where somebody even like thinks to seek this type of media out. Because, like, I can understand, like, visual novels or, like, other, like, role-playing based games where you have, like, choices and control and can, like, actually, like, interact. But just, like, sitting in front of a screen, watching 4-minute episodes back-to-back of these girls with this, like, still one environment setting shot where they have complete control over the script and the actions and everything taking place, and you're just watching that. And I'm like... It's probably the wildest thing I think I've ever seen. And, like, I would get it if, like, it was based off of, like, a gotcha game or, like, some other media, and this is what they were doing to, like, adapt it or give, like, people some, like, bonus content. But it's, if I'm not wrong, I believe it's just its own standalone thing, isn't it?
Well, it's getting a VR game.
That would make a little bit more sense to me, though.
Which, ironically, I think would make it better, because like for me it's one of those things, like this is a weird little pigeonholed anime where it might as well have been porn.
It really might as well have been.
Like it's staying
so
very
close.
safe makes it much weirder,
I guess,
because it feels like
yeah.
You as a character, like you as a viewer, are supposed to get some sort of release from this.
I guess I'm just not that into softcore shit. Like, I think that's the problem here is, like, people, like, want soft stuff that isn't, like, super explicit, and then they can create their own explicit fantasies about it later. But that's just not my thing.
Well, we've been comparing this to visual novels, but there is something that's far more accurate. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, because as anime fans, or weebs, if you will, we are far more familiar with visual novels and much less likely to be familiar with the direct predecessor that this anime, and there are other similar anime like this, like Poe alluded to earlier in the episode.
You mean the Sleepy Boy anime?
Yeah, the Sleepy Boy anime, but there's also ones featuring girls as well that are just like One Room. I think One Room might be the first in 2017 to have done this in the anime format, but like it is not the first video husband, video girlfriend thing. This is a genre that exists and predates its adaptation within anime. It might even predate visual novels. Because it's definitely a thing that existed specifically on VHS, where people would buy VHS tapes of pretty men talking and acting as if they were on dates in a house with you, and it was always seen as this like very niche thing that only lonely women participated in, but if there were video husbands, there had to have been video wives. There's no way that there weren't. Like, the media angle might have focused on the video husband angle because it's like society as a whole, like if there's one thing that Japan and America have in common, it's that both societies absolutely hate women. Like they hate them in different ways, and that hatred like manifests differently. But they hate women and they hate things that women like.
It could be. I wonder if they were a popular demographic. Because in theory, if we're going by the misogynistic assumptions of what a woman might have time-wise, women would be at home with more time to watch things, and therefore that would be the time where they get to pop in these husband tapes. But then again, I'm not sure if the demographic was single women or married women.
I mean, I believe they were targeted at single women. That doesn't mean that married women didn't also use them. The same, I mean, I think that more than likely the people who made those products probably vastly underestimated their demographic and who was going to be interested in them, the same way that married women read Harlequin romance novels.
Yeah.
Like, it is, or watch Lifetime romance movies, because it's not necessarily that they aren't being fulfilled in their relationships, it's that they want to read about other relationships as well. There is an emotional catharsis of being able to experiment in a safe environment with other types of emotional intimacy, which is what fiction provides. And that's what this is. And it might have just appealed to, it might appeal to women who are single just as much as it appealed to women who weren't. But that is the real direct predecessor of this, because both take place within a film medium, whereas visual novels are games first because they're interactive. And I've never seen a video husband video personally. I know they exist. They've been discussed in other media. They were discussed in my Japanese film history textbook in class, but I've never actually witnessed or watched one. So and I'm sure they existed in English as well, but I believe that they were a phenomenon that existed more in Japan from my understanding of the subject matter. So, like, that's the direct predecessor to this. And this is just continuing in a bold trend of marketing people a fantasy of marketing fantasy to people, because that's what all fiction is, but this is a specific type of fantasy.
Yeah, it's a very
alluring
one. It's a very alluring one when done correctly.
I was going to say it's a very weird fantasy, only because, like, never have I been feeling so alone that I've thought that, man, I could really use a Japanese girl to eat rice off of my face. But, like, you know. So we've been spending most of this time specifically discussing the first season, but as has been discussed numerous times, there's more than one season, which is all that.
3 of them.
Which is all that Bash and I have been. I guess. Huh?
Jonathan did manage to show me a little. Sorry, cut that. Poe did manage to show me a little bit of the season 2. I don't think we finished it.
It's unfortunate because we only got so far as to see the first girl brought back to introduce the new theme of the season. Because I believe season 2... Okay, it's still just the 3 girls. But, towards the end of each one, it's a whole lot of, either figuratively proposing to somebody or just, hey, I'm marrying you now. The first girl gets a ring. I don't believe the second one does. The second girl of that season is childhood friend who's due to inherit a bathhouse she does not necessarily want, and it has all the fun things a bathhouse can provide in its episode structure.
But a different childhood friend than the one from the first season.
Again, yes, we have season 1 was the only one you could reasonably say is the same person. From here on out, we are all different people. Well, at least that's what I could glean from watching these. And then the third girl of that season is a person who was a professional gymnast who is not able to adapt to corporate life. And the weird thing to me is that the solution isn't going back to professionally doing gymnastics, but it's to teach gymnastics, which I feel like says something about what they view as like, oh, you can't do that sport unless you're like the top of the top and consistently doing it. Therefore, the next best thing is to teach it. But it's weird because there's only so many like ways to learn livelihood in that hobby, and it feels like teaching is one of them.
Oh, just fucking wait till I finally get you to watch the rest of Free.
Oh, that's gonna be so sad.
So, or Haikyuu for that matter. Although I guess Haikyuu doesn't actually cover the time skip so far. So, my understanding is that the first girl from season 1 is also the first girl in season 2. Mm-hmm. And then she is also the first girl in season 3.
Let me verify. I think she comes into the end. Okay, she has 2 episodes at the end of season 3.
So she's the last girl in season 3. So she's the only girl that appears in all 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm. There's one girl that appears in 2 seasons.
And it's the little sister.
Yep, it's the one I didn't want to see more. The one from the first season that was my best girl just like has her one hurrah and then leaves the show in its entirety.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course.
Of course.
Well, yeah.
They wouldn't be my favorite if they actually like mattered to the show.
I don't know if we can reference the works of other anime online content creators, but like, obviously, this show does not follow its ABCDs.
Right. It seemed to be real close to that middle schooler, but yeah. So season 2, more like the overall theme of it is like more marriagey type stuff. Season 3, I don't really remember like an ongoing theme. In season 3, you have like, I can't remember if she's your senpai or kohai, but you have a girl you're leaving a gardening club to, who really was secretly just doing the gardening club because you were there. And the second one is kind of, if I remember correctly, I really should have rewatched it, but if I remember correctly, it's kind of like a role reversal of the first girl, where it's an older girl trying to help you with your exams.
I'm just going to jump in here just to be clear. No, you really shouldn't rewatch this. You should stop rewatching this show.
No. Well, now that it's not in it, now that it's not the topic of our podcast, I don't have any reason to rewatch this. I'm saying I could have done my homework.
Oh my god. I mean, I guess, yeah, you could have done your homework, but also at the same time, I don't know if it was necessary to do your homework for this one.
Honestly, and it could just be because the vibe of this one wasn't like as like, it was a little more consistent because you got 4 episodes per person, but adjacent series Makura Nado Danchi, which is the Sleepy Boy anime, that's a way wilder ride than this was to me, and it could be because this one is boy focused And 2, it's 1 episode per boy for a total of 12 of them. And
Also, one of the boys is a serial killer, so like that's neat.
A lot of them feel like serial killers. There's a couple of them that are nice and normal, but there's a pair of twins that talk like they're about to murder you if you don't join in their games.
I mean, to be fair, that's just how the Hitachi twins talk.
Twins tend to be very mischievous, so
that's what they're called, right? It's Kaoru and Hikaru Hitachi,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Because those two are weird because the scenario is also weird because it's like the setup is that you're an apprentice and the same sort of like you're an apprentice for a family that they're a part of, and they're also lording that over you. I'm sure it's for someone. But boy, howdy, were none of these, like, real hits with me.
Well, you also aren't attracted to boys, so that probably has something to do with it. I feel like
is a part of it.
Although, to be fair, I'm not attracted to girls, and you are, and you also did not jive with One Room. So, like, which allegedly One Room is specifically designed to be appealing to someone who is both single and attracted to women, which you are both, and you did not appreciate that show.
To be fair to this show, unfortunately, there was only one girl that did it for me, but that's just because it was just, again, as stated before, I'm a sucker for sad girls that are kind of like, I say fixable, and it feels weird to say that, but like, the method by which, or the reason by which they are experiencing the sad seems to be relatively easy to fix.
It's very funny how much you appreciate this sad girl musician, and yet your opinion on Your Lie in April is so stark. I think the issue I have with Your Lie in April is that when I see this girl, I don't see, like, a person, I see a caricature. Because, like, the main girl from Your Lie in April, and granted, this could be I only saw the first episode, although I know what her sad deal is, but, like, I don't deal with the manic pixie dream archetype all that well, mostly because I feel like, as, like, an eldest sibling, anytime someone's, like, behaving in a way that, like, makes things difficult for, like, the group, annoys the hell out of me. Like, leaving your stockings and pants in a tree. No, wait, apologies, not her pants. She just had, her stockings and shoes were just in a tree. Because she just had to run with her bare feet out and to climb on top of this jungle gym and start playing the flute harmonica. I'm sure it has a real name, but I just know there's a keyboard with a tube on it. Yeah, the mouth keyboard thing. Vocoder? I don't know.
I don't know.
No, sousaphone is the tuba.
Oh.
So, yeah, I think we've thoroughly dissected One Room at this point.
Yeah.
So I think final thoughts. Don't watch it.
Oh, watch it. Do it. Experience
go
this.
play a visual novel. You'll have a much better time.
Look, I'm all for one for recommending experiments, whether or not they turn out well or not. Because in order for experiments to work, people have to watch it.
I mean, if you want to, like, get your friends together and, like, have a pizza party and watch, like, one of the weirdest things you'll ever see in your life, by all means, it's something else.
It's not, it doesn't even have, like, the high octane energy to like, carry a pizza party.
Not really,
like,
no.
It's just kind of boring and awkward.
At least it's short.
Don't watch it in mixed company if you're gonna watch it. Like, if you have...
Oh, it's one of the more weird animes for people to, like, walk in on.
Yeah, no, don't
if
show
you're
this
gonna
to your
watch
normie
it,
friends.
Yeah, if you're gonna watch it, make sure that you watch it, and it is a watch group of all one gender. And if you are non-binary, then you need to watch it with a group of entirely non-binaries. And, like, that was the mistake that I apparently made, because I bet if I'd watched it only with other non-binary people, I would have loved it. That's probably the mistake. Definitely not the fact the show's bad.
Definitely not.
Oh, all right, it's a shame you can't have that first time watch experience to all of a sudden like the show.
God.
I would rather gargle glass. All right, so... Yeah, I think that's 5. I can do more. We can do more.
I mean, let's say this, and cut here potentially. We do have someone waiting for D&D to start.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that'll be this for this episode. Join us next week when we finally discuss why Dragon Ball's bad.
It's fine. I'm going to see the movie this weekend. It's fine. I'll defend this, but not One Piece.
Oh, Lord.
All right, have a good one, everyone.
Yeah, but
Bye.
don't forget your homework. There's totally homework.